from my kitchen in Washington, D.C., like everybody else, figuring out how to work from home in this incredible situation that the whole world is in as we face this pandemic. And here at DevX, we've been covering it extensively. Hope you've been following some of that coverage. I'm really excited today to add to the coverage we've been doing this conversation with Ali Ercan Özgür, who is a really prominent social entrepreneur in Turkey. Hi, Ali. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Raj, for inviting us and providing this opportunity to share our experience in Turkey and the region.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into a lot of things I want to get in with you, and we have people joining us live on LinkedIn, so please enter your comments or questions for Ali. You are a well-known social entrepreneur in Turkey, but maybe not everybody knows you around the world. So let me just say a couple of words about you. You co-founded one of the biggest Turkish development consulting firms called İdema. You do a lot of work with Syrian refugees in the country. You run a number of co-working hubs in the country that allow social enterprises to work from those offices, including a place where you're doing food entrepreneurship for refugees. So you're very engaged, and I saw you recently in Istanbul for the Social Good Summit, which you helped put on. So you've got your finger on the pulse of the development and CSR and social innovation sectors there in Turkey and in the region. It's one of the reasons I wanted to get you in this conversation. The other reason is because you and some partners set up something called Needs Map. And it's this idea of contactless aid delivery. And we want to talk about that too. But just before we get into all of those details, maybe you can give us a sense. You're sitting in Izmir, one of the biggest cities in Turkey, fairly near Istanbul. What's the situation like in Turkey today in terms of the pandemic?
Yeah, in Turkey, we adapted to the developments easily for the last almost 1 month. So there were like step-by-step isolation processes started from the public authorities, private sector, NGOs, working from home. So step-by-step precautions started, and it's now settled down. Almost because following through the national traffic data and the mobility data, and we are working with Esri and Johns Hopkins University is also putting daily and live pin and map-based mobility.
So you can see where people are going, and but I understand that Turkey has one of the highest infection growth rates in the world, right? It's a serious situation in the country.
Yeah, and we see that Raj, Turkey and the other countries. If you look at all the other countries, what I see in this graph is everyone is following this graph all over the world. 7 G20 countries. I see that are like BRIC countries there. So the high mobility, high international dependent, and high international trade, connectedness and network countries has high numbers there. And especially Istanbul is also a hub for international travels. So I think one of the reasons that Turkey is also there is this connectedness with the global world, how we are like business people, our NGOs, public authorities, we're connected with the international, liberal system, like I say.
Now you run co-working spaces for NGOs, social entrepreneurs. Those are effectively shut down at this point, I assume. And is that the case when you talk to other NGOs, development organizations across the country? Are they basically working from home? Have they ceased the normal activities across the whole country?
Yes, definitely. I can say like almost more than like 85% are home-based. Mainly the main humanitarian organizations are on the street level. They are working, I believe. And even like, because in Turkey, most of NGOs has to do their annual, general assemblies, annual, legal meetings with the government decisions. They were also postponed for the next 3 months.
So let's talk about the Syrian refugees in particular. I forget the precise figure. Is it about 3 million that live in Turkey today?
Even it's now approaching 4 million.
Yeah. So what's the situation like for the Syrian refugees during the pandemic now in Turkey?
As you may remember, just right before the pandemic, there was a high-end crisis issue that Turkey decided to, open the borders. for refugees that's allowed to, they can go to Europe. And it was a huge crisis was rising, especially in the western border of Turkey. But right after pandemic crisis, so it became a bigger issue. So in that sense, it's lowered now. And so, but in Turkey, more than 80% of the refugees are no longer living in refugee camps. They are in the cities, in the almost 10 big cities of Turkey. Like half of them are near Syrian border. We have metropolitan cities like Gaziantep, Şanlıurfa, and also Istanbul, Izmir, Ankara, and other cities host refugee communities. I believe they are also isolated at home. And as we are working, as we shut down, we were working with refugee community in Turkey on food entrepreneurship program with SAIB organization. We are in very close contact with the refugee community. So they are also isolated. They have some needs of, basic, food and other stuff. We are providing these supports to them. Many NGOs and NGOs in Turkey also taking care of refugees in this process that to also protect them not be affected from the pandemic.
So years ago, when the Turkish, when the Syrian crisis got much worse and you started to see a lot of Syrians come into the country, you and some colleagues set up this website, this map. And I remember going to Istanbul for the World Humanitarian Summit, and you had a booth there, and I got to see this thing in action. And this was, I guess, fairly early days. This is 2015. First of all, just explain what was the original idea behind this map, and how did it work?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's also a very nice moment because you were the one who saw the first, beta version of it, and we were telling you about this dream. And thanks all for your support. And yes, the initial idea came up through a project we were doing. I mean, we were doing a socioeconomic project with some municipalities in Turkey, matching data and the needs of the people. Then we said, why we don't do kind of a balanced system, supply and demand side of the aid system. And what we also saw is a rising social media accumulation from especially young generations. And people started to use, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and there was problem of the accurate data, who are really in need and who can do better. And people want to do everything fast. So we came up with this map idea with another co-founder, Mert. Mert has the idea of making a list of needs that there is no problem of duplication, because once you put a need on live on Twitter, you want a wheelchair, and someone says, I want to take care of it, but you don't know all the process, if it went out or not. So what our system is balancing, and with our digital volunteers, we are doing the verification in the backstage. Then we put these needs live on our map system. Then this map system, you can easily, and it pops up as a ticket, you can say. And in the pin ticket, you read about who is this person, where he or she lives. You read about the story, you see the pictures. And Mert, our co-founder, he's a development person from born. And we came up one day and dreamed about this needs map. We can go broader, we can do this, that. And in one day, we made all the UX design, and we find a very close friend to, can you do that? He said, okay, I can do that. And we started with the beta version, and we launched it on UN Social Good Summit, just for a try. And it took a lot of attention, because what we were not expecting, Raj, was, because we didn't think like people in Turkey can use this map system, it's so complicated for us. But you cannot imagine how people was easy to use it. So they said, oh, it's easy, I can see it, and whatever I want to. And in Turkey, from the Ottoman times, we have a culture called imece. Imece is the, creating crowd collective solution in the villages. So in a village, if you have a huge soil, but you cannot collect the seeds alone. So all the villagers should come to your soil and take care of all the plants. So it's kind of crowdsourcing name in Turkey, imece. So we called ourselves as the online image of, humanitarian aid. And what we did was, just created the system and created mutual, transaction. And it exploded because so far we reach out more than like 100,000 members and almost 2 million transactions in the system, which is counting almost 20 million US dollars circular economy. And we don't accept cash. What we do is just match person, communities, school in need with the organization, individual who wants to put a support on it. Just
let's dig into that a little bit, because I've got a lot of questions, maybe others do too, about, we've got people joining us from Honduras and Bangladesh and all over the world I'm seeing, just in terms of how this actually functions. So you gave the example of a wheelchair, and somebody might need a wheelchair, and they don't have the funds for it, and they don't know how to get it. So they put that up, and you said someone verifies it from your community. So it sounds a little bit like editors in Wikipedia in their model, right? These are trusted people who can do the verification. How do they actually do that? I'm especially asking because of the current situation with the virus, whether the verification has to be done in person. Do they go there and see that there is a person in need of a wheelchair? How does that actually work?
One of the good points in here is we are working almost 500 NGOs. So NGOs are key stakeholders of needs map and users. So they have like corporate accounts as NGOs, and we have also companies, and we have university student clubs, needs map student clubs in 50 universities all over Turkey. We are working with local authorities. So if there is a wheelchair entry as a need in our system, so it pops up in the backstage, in the dashboard. So our digital volunteers, and also we have a staff who are professionally working for our organization. So they start calling or, creating a conversation. And if it's kind of because in order to enter our system, you also have to enter your ID number, you have to do SMS verification. All the user contracts of our system was also prepared by like Facebook, LinkedIn lawyers in Turkey. So then if it's fine, if it's feasible for us, so it's in the map, it's live on map. So before going live, we go through editorial system. Just to give an example for this pandemic, we started a project with Medical Students Union of Turkey. So in 81 cities, medical students who are working in Turkey since 1950, they are very well networked young people, and they are at home. So nobody is going out. So they are digital volunteers. They are calling their, professors, what are the medical needs in their hospital? So they enter, we open the corporate dashboard for them. So they are using it and they enter all the data. And when it's live, the supporters then see it. So, and for the supporter side, you don't need to worry about where I can find a verified need or if it's true. So it's on needs map. So needs map as a product provides a verified need from different sources.
Let me think about this as an individual donor. I want to make a donation to a need that I see. You talked about this being contactless, but you don't take cash. So if I see that a particular hospital is in need of a certain equipment, do I donate money to the hospital or to an NGO, or do I actually buy the product from a supplier and then that supplier delivers it to the hospital? How does that part actually function?
Yeah, that's the very key function, and thanks for this question. I forgot to mention about it. So as an individual donor, there are 3 ways you can do. You can buy from your nearby grocery, give it to a cargo and send it to this place. Or you can buy from somewhere like eBay or, and send it to the address. And third one, we created with EasyCo. EasyCo is Turkish PayPal. It's like a payment system so we call it social marketplace. So we also have an aim to empower local economy, local shops. So just give an example. If you are living in DC and you are from Ghana and you see a school need in Accra, and you, with this EasyCo, with this social marketplace payment system, you are able to buy from a local stationery and send it to this school in Accra. So this is the model we are creating. So take it to Turkey if you are living in Istanbul, and I live in Izmir. So if you see something in Izmir and you want to take care of it, you are easily able to buy it from a local stationery. So our system is kind of a neighborhood system that we want to empower local economy, local neighborhoods, and crowd solidarity system we try to create.
Yeah, so in a sense, you're getting some of the potential corruption out of the system because someone putting in the need is never going to get cashed directly themselves. They're going to get goods. And I guess in theory, if someone really wanted to try to get goods illicitly and then convert them into cash, sell them, there's some potential, but it's a very slim potential of direct corruption with a model like this, because really they're getting goods, stationary products or a wheelchair or what have you. And you said you had 2 million transactions already. Give us a sense of what kinds of transactions are these examples you've given, the kind of common examples, wheelchairs and stationary products, or what sorts of things are people asking for in the needs map?
In the needs map, some of them we don't make them live. Like even someone is asking for family issues, like, oh, please provide some, patience for my husband. This is an entered need in our system. And even we have this kind of, funny needs, or even like bride shirt was entered, or for cancer patients, or even volunteers. You can enter a volunteer need. So in our system, like stationery, medical equipment, foods, basic foods, many other, related to aid, basic aid deliveries, we have this, or like shirts, computers, tablets, used tablets, or electronic devices. Even they are asking sometimes for, iPhone 10X, so we can't do it, but
yeah.
For one of the campaigns, right? For one of the campaigns we are starting, because in Turkey schools are also closed. So to also give, so schools are closed, university and all levels of schools are closed now. And probably for the next 2 months they will be closed. And all schools started digital education. So they have some, even public schools have system. But the problem is in least developed families in Turkey, which is in numbers like more than 10 million, I can say, many of them doesn't have internet access, and many of them does not have tablets. And sometimes in a house there are like 8 children, and only 3 of them or 1 of them maybe, if they are lucky. And so then there is inequality in education. So we are starting a campaign to provide in your house. Lots of people in Turkey, they have unused and old version iPhone or tablet. So it's kind of a sharing platform. So when a crisis pops up, or a crisis or disaster, so we try to enable this system to be used.
So let's talk about the applicability of this outside of Turkey, because I understand you've been having conversations with lots of international organizations. I know that your organization partners with people like Google and with the UPS Foundation and with ESRI. So you're used to working with global organizations, but it's generally been a Turkey focus and a Syrian refugee focus. What is the applicability for this in other parts of the world? What are some of the conversations you're having now?
Yeah, I mean, we have been in contact since the beginning. I mean, we took the needsmap.co, and especially we were established in Turkey as a cooperative, non-profit cooperative. And we learned that there is a movement, actually this is from New School in New York, Treble Shoals and Digital Cooperatives Movement. So they call it platform cooperativism. So we showcased our system almost 2 years ago in Hong Kong, in the platform cooperatives. So it's kind of peer-to-peer, aid delivery and contactless aid delivery system. And they say this is unique in itself, and why you don't implement in Turkey. And we had first demand from Australia 2 years ago, and we started test work with a big foundation there. And also in Tunisia, and now we have in talks with African Union in just a recent talk, and also London. There's a municipality in London who is interested to implement our system in London as a pilot program, and we are also discussing for New York and other geographies. So the good part in our system, we are testing, piloting, and doing lots of experience, community, volunteers, technology side in Turkey. But our aim is to, because as it's a map, so it can easily be enlarged to any parts of the world. So we see it as a smart social city product. So as a social enterprise, we want it to be implemented in Stockholm. We want it to be implemented in Madagascar. We want it to be implemented in, Nairobi.
Right. It seems like the key elements.
San Francisco.
Right. You can do it anywhere, I guess. I mean, the key elements you would need are connectivity, which is becoming more and more ubiquitous. High bandwidth connectivity, probably, and smart devices. But that's becoming, it's not everywhere, but it's getting there. And a lot of the experts I talk to in Silicon Valley and people working on connectivity tell me, we're not far away. We're maybe 3, 4, 5 years away. Of course, given the current crisis with the pandemic here in 2020, there might be parts of the world where implementing something like this is a challenge just because of connectivity. But that's just one element. And then it seems to me you also need to have the ability to have some kind of verification group. So you talked about NGOs inputting the needs, but in much of the world, there are these civil society groups and international NGOs and national and local groups that could be verified and seen as credible, and they could be the ones to do exactly what you're doing in Turkey, you would think. And then you need the donors, and donors in your case are within Turkey donating to challenges inside Turkey. Donors could be global. You gave the example of someone in Washington donating to a program in Accra in Ghana. I see no reason why that couldn't be a global group. Maybe you also need the payment system and some delivery. So there could be some reason you might want to filter all of the potential locations in the world to drill down. But it sounds like there's a lot of applicability here. And I guess I wonder, to those who are following this online, what your message would be to them if somebody said, I'd love to get a chance to implement this where I am in some part of the world. What's the process for doing that? Is it that your organization would work with them, or is it kind of an open source concept and anyone can just sort of pick it up? I mean, how do you envision this actually rolling out to more places?
Yeah, it's also an interesting story. I mean, for the last 1 year, I mean, we have a good partnership with Esri.com. Esri is the geodata analytics company. And thanks to them, I mean, they believed our approach, and they said, oh, I mean, we are a map company and you are, creating a new approach, and they made us their partner and put us into their, startup program and, doing a social investment on us. And it's very precious. The idea is to make it kind of a marketplace product, and it can be applicable to any region. Indeed, and this is the technology side. For the community side, we definitely need, country-wise, city-wise, INGOs, cooperatives, local partners, because we believe in communities, local communities, and to grow this through, communities. And we believe in this can grow, evolve as a blockchain of communities. So when we are talking of AI communities, so these data and verification standards will be very important, like the needs or requirements or the legal issues, and the needs in Madagascar is different than in Accra, than in Virginia. And the data that will produce through here is very critical also to also envision future prospects. So it's also data for the future data, so it can also create policy recommendations. And also at the same time, it's open source and make, a transparent system, peer-to-peer. And in terms of that, we are also developing, so probably in 2 weeks, we will launch a needs card. So the support that, so payment system will also be available to peer-to-peer payment for the needs of the people. So I believe this, as from your book, Raj, I mean, we were very inspired by, DevX and, Raj, and your book, recent book. You mentioned also in Social Good Summit about upcoming, fourth, sector revolution. So this really clarified in our mind what we had been doing, because we were discussing this map, transparency, peer-to-peer, because aid coordination, aid effectiveness is one of the big problems in the global world. And so creating a solution, smart solution for this, change our concentration for the last couple of years after your, book. So your book inspired us a lot to position ourselves as a fourth sector revolution, smart social city enterprise, and to evolve a product like this. So this is our vision.
I really appreciate you saying that, of course, and that is my view, having spent a lot of time reporting on and researching for that book, that we are at this moment of disruptive change in the aid industry in the way we work. And I think something like a global pandemic could be that forcing moment that gets a lot of change to happen very quickly in the way we operate. Now, I wonder what you would say to people who think, cash transfers are a really popular approach. You've got Give Directly, where people can put in, essentially, they don't enter their need like in a needs map, but Give Directly looks using satellite imagery and kind of identifies poor communities and poor families and just directly gives them cash, through their mobile phone. And then, of course, in the humanitarian space, there's a lot of move to just delivering money, usually through mobile electronic means, to people in need, refugees and others. What would you say to people who say, well, why don't we just go to cash? We don't need to do the needs map approach of providing products and goods. It's an extra step. It's an extra layer. What's the advantages or disadvantages in your mind of this kind of needs map model versus just the direct cash delivery model?
Yeah, as over the course of the years I did my master's in Birmingham back 20 years ago on aid coordination. And in there, I read a lot about HATNA, and HATNA is, putting a lot on development thinking. I believe DevEx, other, development workers are putting a lot of effort to, design this thinking, design thinking, but also with development perspective. And I believe in this side, it's probably, as you were telling time to time, it's more than $2 trillion volume issue. So this aid industry or market or area. So in that sense, we see some inefficiencies in the system. So when you send to NGO, through UN agencies or other parties, sometimes if it's like $100 directly going somewhere to a family for in Honduras, the cut in the operational cost, other things is almost 50%. So our system is aiming to lower this operational cost and also empower NGOs to more focus on the work and the direct beneficiary. So in not focusing on the processes, so just take out the processes and just concentrate on the beneficiary. So I believe if NGOs, donation foundations, UN agencies, if they use our API or any other system that we can provide in the payment side, so it will bring more efficiency and also it will increase the value. And I believe if it's more transparent, as it will be more prevail and more donations will increase in terms of trusting the system. So it will maybe reach out to $10 trillion market. Today it's 2-3 trillion. The diminishing trust in the system is a phenomenon. Inefficiencies is a phenomenon. So if we can create a transparent peer-to-peer payment, reporting, and data producing system, it can also increase the volume of the market, I believe.
Yeah, the transparency is really attractive, I think, to people to be able to see, what are the actual needs, right? And to kind of level the playing field where everybody can just put in what they feel their needs are at the ground level. I read about in my book that Give Directly has a live site, GD Live, they call it, where you can just see what people are doing with the money that they get. And it really just opens up our sector, which has often been very hierarchical, where donors are making big decisions in Washington and London for people who are living on $1 a day, on the other side of the world. And these kinds of initiatives just crack it open. And now everybody's on a level playing field in a sense, because there's some transparent idea of what's going on. So I think it's really a remarkable idea. Just as we close here, Ali Ercan, I wonder if you could give those who are watching a sense of if they want to get involved. We're going to put in the comment threads, we'll have links to your your map. Hopefully you'll add any other information you want to add there on LinkedIn. If anybody wants to get engaged or wants to learn more, what should they do? What's their next step?
I mean, they can reach out me easily through LinkedIn, as we are also live on LinkedIn. We are very active on using they can also work through it. And the current system now visible, needsmap.com, will change in 2 weeks time. So we will have a very brand new database system. We are now transitioned to the Esri system. So we will have a brand new visibility. And our message would be really, we want to implement it outside Turkey. So please be the first to be, launching this outside Turkey, and let's work for the humanitarian world together.
Well, Ali, I just want to wish you and your colleagues who are working on this all the best. Thank you for bringing this to our global audience. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest in it already. There has been in this discussion. And I want to wish you and all of the NGO and humanitarian community in Turkey the best as you try to grapple with this pandemic and the response to it. Thanks for all that you do, and thanks for spending a little time. It's great. Good to see you.
Thanks for hosting us, Raj. You always have friends all over the world, but you always have home and friends and colleagues in Turkey, in Istanbul.
I really appreciate that, and I will when we can fly again. I'll be back there.
Yes.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks, Devex. Thanks.